All right, everybody. We are live now. Taking a minute to open up the thing on my phone. I will say I didn't do very good this week. I changed one of my tasks, and I did the other one with B literally 20 minutes ago. But we'll get more into that in a minute. All right, my channel. Live stream. Awesome. Here we go. Whoa, hey look, 4 people are watching. What's up, guys? How you doing? I'm gonna wait a little bit, see if anyone says anything in the comments. Give some other people some more time to join. Hey, let's see. Atenia says, hey man, greetings from Argentina. And Ty says, good morning. What's up, guys? So I don't recognize your name, Atenia. How do I pronounce it? Atenia? Is that right? Atenia? Conocimientos. This means something together, like meeting? Because conozco is to meet, right? Or to know. So Atena conocimientos. This is your business name. Gotcha. So am I saying it right? Atenia? Atenia? What do you do for your business? Knowledge. Gotcha. That makes sense. I thought I recognized the word. I'm still not very good with conjugations, so like I understand most of the like root base words in Spanish, but when it comes to like conjugating it to be like the plural form, then I'm not very good with that. I need to actually like study conjugations, and I just haven't gotten around to doing it. I'm really bad at studying, guys, like really bad. But at the same time, I tell myself I'm really bad, so that's why I'm really bad. But I would always just prefer to be like working in something, like, right? Like, for me, I would rather go to a country where I don't know the language so that I can be forced to learn the language than study it to go to the country, if that makes sense. I'm much more prone to just throwing myself into a situation where I have to use it regularly, right? That's like how I learn better. But so you create courses related to technology. That's pretty cool. What kind of courses, or actually, what platform are you making your courses on? Hey, Workhorse. Greetings from Nicaragua to Australia. That's cool. So right now we have somebody from the US. We have me in Nicaragua. We have somebody from Argentina. And we have someone from Australia. That's pretty cool. Now we just need some Europeans and some Asians. Then we got global representation. It's quite interesting, actually, because you don't really see very many like Japanese or Chinese people interested in like drop shipping and that kind of thing. But Indian and Pakistan definitely. But like Japanese drop shippers, that's like almost completely unheard of. Ty says, it's like the difference between studying a culture and living in the culture. The understanding is far better. Yeah, it's true. But, I mean, really, like, okay, me not being studious and saying that I'm bad at studying, that is a weakness. Because it is true that I can learn really well if I put myself in an environment, but really the better way would be to study a little bit, be in that environment, and be studying, and be immersed in the environment. And I also shouldn't tell myself that I'm bad at studying, because you can't be bad at studying, really. You just either do it or you don't, right? And historically, I struggled a lot in school. So that's one of the reasons I identify with being bad at studying. But I could just not tell myself that, right? And learn to study better. Because there are some situations where I study. Like if I'm really motivated, then I can study well. But I get bored. So I have to find like creative ways to study. Like make it a game, that kind of thing. So Athena says, I ran into you through your Udemy related videos. Nice. Yeah, I've been doing a lot more Udemy related videos. because Udemy's been making a lot of changes. They're also actually changing, so they will take tax payments out of your income so that you don't have to pay it last minute, kind of like a legitimate normal job, right? Like, because typically how it works in the past with Udemy is that you receive payments, but then it's on you to report your payments and pay your income tax on those payments. And that's changing. So now you set up all of your information, you file your taxpayer status with Udemy, and then they will withhold your tax payment, and then they will send it to the IRS. So by the end of the year, you don't owe a ton of money on your Udemy income because you've already paid it. And this is going to be rolling out like later on this year. And of course, if you're not in a situation where you are like required to pay US taxes, then they won't withhold money from you. This is basically, as far as I understand, just for people who have US tax liability, like me, because I am a US entity. Even though I live in Nicaragua, technically my business exists in the United States. Therefore, I have to pay income tax on the stuff that I'm earning, right? And there's ways to work around that. Like, actually, as a foreigner, you're in the best position because you can create a company that's in the US, but then you can like hire yourself as a foreign employee and you pay like very little taxes that way. I don't know exactly the logistics of how to do it properly. It's something you got to talk to like a tax person about. But my tax situation is way easier now because back when I was drop shipping, you had to keep track of like every transaction and like how much because effectively when you're drop shipping, your cost of goods sold is all of the stuff that you bought, and your income is all the payments you received minus your cost of goods sold, right? So you have to track all of this. Whereas now I just receive payments from YouTube and from Udemy, and then minus business expenses, which is basically just renewing software costs, right? And then that's my tax situation. And also it's great is that I barely earn anything by US standards. Like, I earn between like $500 and $1,000 a month now, which is a bit frustrating because in the beginning of this year, I was earning $2,000 a month. So I have lost a lot of my income, and I still haven't like recovered from that. But emotionally, I've recovered. Financially, I haven't recovered. But again, that's one of the great things about being in Nicaragua is that even at the lowest point of my finances, my self-employed life, I'm still earning as much or more than people here with college degrees who work every single day. So that has made it easier because I can't really feel sorry for myself because my friends here are all working more and earning less. So it's not like I can complain about anything, you know, like definitely not. And that has helped my perspective a lot because say that I was in the States and all that Skillshare stuff went down and I lost a large portion of my income, I would be in a worse situation, you know, because I would be comparing myself to all the people in the US and earning less money than them. It's really hard. Anyway, let's look at these chats. Tyro says, how good is the food over where you are? Like, is it super fresh grown and plentiful, or is it hard to come by fresh food? And how is the property house hunting over there going? Food-wise, you can definitely find fresh food here. Like, definitely. Very easily. Back when the political situation was a bit more intense, then there was more problems finding food. Definitely. But that period of time only lasted for like 1 to 2 months. And at this point, it was a long time ago, over a year ago, because it started last year in April. So it's been a while. Things have calmed down a lot. It's not like the way it was at all. And it's kind of weird, like reading stuff online. Because back when I was still in the USA and I hadn't yet returned to Nicaragua, I would read stuff online and I'd feel kind of nervous. But now that I'm living here again, I read stuff online and I'm just like, wow, I live here and I'm fine, and I go outside and like I have a good life and people treat me well and they're friendly and I don't ever feel like I'm in danger. Yet there's tons of people like claiming that Nicaragua is a war-torn country. It's weird, it doesn't really match. And so basically what my understanding now is that there's a group of people, of Nicaraguans, and they believe that what's best for Nicaragua is for the rest of the world to think it's a shithole. Because from their perspective, they think the rest of the world doesn't know that Nicaragua exists. So they think that if they preach about how bad the situation is in Nicaragua, then things are going to get better. I don't really know. I personally don't agree because from my experience, people are already really judgmental of Nicaragua, and people not coming here doesn't help the country, Like, I'm not saying tourism is always good for a country, but it does bring money into the country, and a lot of that money goes into the pockets of greedy people, but not all of it. Some of it does go to like really legit local Nicaraguans who are just being tour guides, right? Like before the political situation went down, it was common to be a tour guide and you would charge like maybe $50 for a tour of whatever area you live near, right? Like if you're in Somoto, then you take people through the canyon, or whatever volcano you're near. There's tons of volcanoes here, so people are always trying to hike the volcanoes, and you need a guide to hike the volcano because it's really easy to get lost if you don't know the paths, etc., etc. So there were a lot of like local guides, and that was literally how their life worked. They would get like between 2 and 7 clients a week, and each one would pay them like, $40-50 for a tour. And that was literally everything they needed to have a good life. And then after all the political stuff went down, tourists stopped coming here. So now if you talk to a guide, it's very likely that in a 6-month period, they only had 1 client, right? And so it's tricky because, yeah, it is true that like there is a lot of people who run tourist businesses. They charge huge amounts of money, and then they're foreign, and the money never ends up in the hands of locals. But there's also a bunch of locals who literally work directly with tourism and are really hurt by the fact that no tourists aren't really coming here anymore. And it's super ironic because the reality is that the danger is for the locals, not for the tourists. It really isn't dangerous for tourists. I live in the capital where like shit is going down, right? And I don't feel it danger. I'm obviously foreign, super obviously foreign, right? But there's like a bunch of guards because we live close to the president. And in the beginning, they were a bit hesitant with me, just because I'm obviously a foreigner. But it's all about being recognizable and making eye contact and smiling and not giving people shit or ever being disrespectful, right? And like now, whenever I see any of the guards, we like fist bump. I'm always saying hello, good night, yada yada, have conversations sometimes. It's a completely different dynamic just because I was friendly to them, It's interesting. Anyway, let me look at more of your comments, Ty. I've gone away from that a little bit. So you asked about the food. Food's really easy to come by, like especially in Managua. If you're in a more rural area, then you're going to be more limited on the kinds of food that you can eat. Basically, if you're in a rural area that's not near a beach, you're going to be eating rice and beans, plantains, fruits, like tropical fruits, like papaya, pineapple, mango, and you'll be eating rice and beans, and then a meat, which is usually either chicken, beef, or pork. So, like a classic fritanga, which is street food here, right? You can just go anywhere, buy a plate of street food. It costs usually between 80 and 120 cords, depending on where you are in Nicaragua. Some places it's cheaper. It could be like 60 or 70, which is $2, by the way. Whereas in Managua, it's a little bit more expensive for Nicaraguan perspective. For like a foreigner coming here, getting a whole meal for $3 is crazy. Like that's really cheap, especially if you can get a full meal and 2 beers for $5. Like that is not really doable in the United States, at least not a meal that would fill you up. It's pretty common to go to one bar and get a beer for $5, and you just get that one beer, right? Whereas here you can get 2 beers and a whole meal. And a typical fritanga meal would be gallo pinto, which is rice and beans that are like cooked together. Sometimes it's smoked. So there's a lot of different like flavors that gallo pinto has. And then you would also have a meat of some kind that's grilled. And this is like classic, right? And then the plantains. And if you're in a rural area, that's pretty much what your diet is. You might also have things like leche agria, which is like sour milk. It's kind of like a form of yogurt. And there's a cheese that's really common here. They just call it queso, but it's different than the cheese you're used to in the United States. It's much more similar to paneer, which is the cheese that they use in India, which is like, it's really spongy and it doesn't really melt. Like you can fry it and it retains its shape. So that's like a classic breakfast, is either some kind of meat or eggs. Typically meat would be lunch or dinner. So it would be like eggs, queso frito, which is like the fried cheese, or queso fresca, which is the fresh, not fried cheese, gallo pinto, and then you might have some kind of salad that has like cabbage and carrots and that kind of thing in it. And that's like the Nicaraguan diet, typically. There's some other Nicaraguan foods like bao. Bao's really good. Bao's like a kind of fermented meat that's cooked with a bunch of other things, and it's really, really tasty. It's like barbecue. That tastes a lot like barbecue. The meat's really stringy, really rich, lots of fat. A lot of the food here is tasty, but really rich and not very healthy for you. But you also have access to a bunch of healthy food because there's a bunch of fruit. Like fruit here is super, super cheap. Same with vegetables and produce. So you can eat healthy here really, really cheap. It's just not necessarily how most Nicaraguan people will eat. Nicaragua is kind of similar to the U.S. in the way that there are a lot of problems with obesity and people drinking a lot of soda and eating really, really fattening, unhealthy foods. Heart problems, high blood pressure, all of this is really common here, diabetes as well. It's funny because as a United States citizen, in the beginning, I felt like Nicaragua was so different from the United States. And on face value, it kind of appears different. Like the style of the buildings are different. The streets look different. Things are a little bit more dirty. Not everything, obviously. There's some really beautiful places. Because you kind of get both worlds. Like there's some streets that are really dirty and there's a bunch of trash. But then there's also way more usage of nature and trees to make like things really beautiful. So it's really common that you're in a street, it looks completely normal to you, a bunch of walls, some cars, and then you walk through a doorway and boom, you're in like a paradise with really fancy lighting and waterfalls cascading over rocks and trees and plants and like interior design. It's super cool. So I feel like the streets themselves often look less appealing than streets in the United States, but when you actually go into places, there's a lot more thought into like the design of places and using plants, because here you don't have like contained buildings. The buildings have like a wall that's open. And so you often have like a courtyard where there's a garden and a bunch of trees. You may have an actual like mango tree in the middle of your house, right? Like that's a common situation. And sometimes like those kind of trees are so common that the price difference between a house that has like full grown fruiting trees that took 30 years to grow and a regular house is like maybe 10-20 bucks a month. You know, it's super common here, which is pretty cool. I really enjoy that. But if you're in, like I said, this is if you're in the rural areas, you're going to be limited in the kinds of food you can eat. If you're in Managua or Leon or Esteli or any of the cities, then you don't have as much cuisine available to you as like say you're in Nova or California, where you can get literally any cuisine in the world. But like here, I can go to a Korean barbecue place. I can go to a dim sum place, which is like the Chinese dumplings and stuff. I can also go to a Japanese restaurant. I can go to, you know, Peruvian places, all the Latin American cuisines. I have access to all that. So personally, that's one of the reasons I like living in Managua, is because you have more access to stuff. Like there's literally this old Korean lady who runs a Korean grocery store out of her house, and she has all of the fancy like kimchi ingredients, all of the staples of Korean cuisine. And it's expensive, but it exists, right? Which is really cool. And that's something that I like about Managua. is that the more I live here, the more I learn about all these little places that you can go to that you think didn't exist, but they do. It's super interesting. Yo, Bray, what's up, man?
What up?
Good to see you. I'm
Yes.
ranting about Nicaragua, and let's see there.
Okay.
I want to get through a couple other questions in the chat because I got to talk about YouTube income, talk about a little bit more about Nicaragua, and then we can get into stuff we've been doing, how your week's been, all that. Okay.
All right.
So, oh, Team Cermak gave cool. YouTube gave them a free super chat, and they gave it to me. Awesome, that's cool. Thank you, Team Cermak. I got $1.99, or after ad revenue cut, like $1.20. But hey, that's almost as much as a meal that I'm talking about, right? So let's see. Did I answer all of Ty's questions? How good is the food? Is it fresh? Is it plentiful? How is the property or house hunting over there? Okay, so there is one kind of main big difference between property and real estate here versus in the U.S. Um, and in general, here I find that it's way easier to find a place to rent. Like way easier. Here, there's more places available for rent than people who can afford to rent them. Because in the U.S., there's so much focus on becoming an individual who can provide for yourself and living alone. So a bunch of U.S. people are always trying to like get their own place. That's what they want to do. Like it's not uncommon for a child or a teenager to be forced to leave the house when they turn 18 because they're supposed to live alone now. Like that's a thing that happens in the U.S. Whereas in Latin America and in Nicaragua, that is super uncommon. Like that would pretty much only happen if the kid had like a really intense drug problem, and even in that scenario, the parents' friends would like judge them for kicking their kid out in certain contexts. It's way, way, way less likely that you're going to have to live alone in Nicaragua. And in general, most people don't have as much money. So these two factors mean that houses that are like a good deal from a foreigner's perspective are probably too expensive for a local, and locals are so used to living with their family and other people that they're less likely to get their own place compared to Americans. So in general, real estate wise here, it's really easy to find a place to rent. Like you could literally come to Nicaragua and just have a hostel for a week, and in that week go walk around the streets in the city that you're staying in, and guaranteed you would find multiple options for places that you can rent. And you can rent stuff as a foreigner. There's not anything that prevents that. Like basically what will happen if the person is doing things properly is you'll meet down with your new landlord, a lawyer will be present, you'll sign a little form, and you'll write the number in your passport. Like there's nothing stopping a foreigner from renting property here all year round, despite the fact that a foreigner technically can only be here for 90 days at a time. But like I said, it's really easy to find property. It's not something that you should worry too much about. You can literally plan on just having a hostel here, and you'll pay like between $5 and $10 a night. $10 a night's kind of pricey. It depends. You could pay up to 20 if you want like a really fancy place and a private room, that kind of thing. But that's like you don't need to pay more than $20. There are like really fancy tourist hotels who will try and charge you 40 or $50 a night, but that is literally something only tourists or like ridiculously wealthy people who just throw their money will do. Everyone else will just use the cheaper hostels because like why pay $50 a night for something when you could get 2 weeks or a week? You know, like it just doesn't make as much sense. Whereas $50 a night in the US, that's actually pretty reasonable. That's not too insane for a hotel. Like that's kind of like the cheapest hotels get, right? Like even if you're in a really cheap area, it may be like $30 or $40 a night. But finding a hotel in the US that charges $10 or $5 a night, that doesn't happen at all. Whereas here, that's kind of common. So then Athenia asked, how much on average do you make from YouTube? So it's a bit complicated, actually. I can show you something real quick if I go to Google Chrome here. And then we're going to go to Studio. Right now, I make around $200 a month from ad revenue on YouTube. It used to be much higher. It's important to keep in mind that my YouTube channel doesn't really grow a whole lot at the moment. Like you can see right now, I've only gained 119 subscribers in the past month. And the main reason for that is because I don't do dropshipping content anymore, and that's how I got known. And that's like a decision on my part, is because I don't want to be known as just a dropshipper. I don't really like the scene, and I don't dislike dropshippers, but so many dropshippers are just, they don't give a fuck about ethics. They don't care about anything aside from making money as soon as possible. And that's not all dropshippers, don't get me wrong, but it is a lot of them. And I just kind of got tired of that scene, to be honest. Because for me, like, my life is about like being useful to other people and doing things that earn me money in the long run, which is a very different mentality than the dropshipping mentality. And I also get really bored with dropshipping content. But anyway, so you can see here that I earn around $200 a month. If you look at the lifetime in ad revenue, I've earned around $8,800 from YouTube ad revenue. However, ad revenue isn't the best way to earn money on YouTube. You need a lot of views to get money from ad revenue. It's almost always easier to have a product. For example, there's one video I have that was about DSM tool, right? And that one video caused over $1,000 in affiliate commission from DSM tool. Whereas the video itself only earned me like a couple $100 in ad revenue. So you can see here that I've gotten $1,500 from DSM tool affiliate signups from that video. And it's often easier to earn money from a YouTube channel if you have some kind of affiliate setup or some kind of course that you sell as well. It really makes it easier to earn money from a small amount of YouTube subscribers. If you have a course and you are creating content on YouTube that's relevant to that course, you can earn $1,000 a month off of like 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers. That's completely like realistic. You don't need to have hundreds of thousands of subscribers or tens of thousands of subscribers. Definitely makes it easier, but it's important that you don't think that you have to become viral and you have to become big for YouTube to be useful. That's one of the things that's really nice about YouTube, is that it really caters towards individuality and you expressing yourself in a way that makes you stand out. So let's see. Okay, YouTube, got that covered. Ty says he wants to move there. Yeah, I love Nicaragua. Absolutely. So he says, is it 90 days that you have to vacate and then come back, or how does that work? So it's as a U.S. citizen, you get 90 days on entry. If you leave Nicaragua and come back, that resets. So what a lot of people do is they'll border hop. But really, you shouldn't do that because you're going to have trouble sometimes. What the most foolproof way to remain in Nicaragua while remaining on tourist status is to literally travel. So you will stay in Nicaragua for 90 days, but then you go somewhere for 2 weeks, and then you come back. That is much more like viable, because depending on the customs agent and the immigration agent, they may sometimes have problems if they see extensive history of Nicaragua in your passport. But the main reason they'll have a problem with that is if they think that you are working illegally. Because a tourist isn't supposed to work in Nicaragua because it takes away a job from a Nicaraguan. And tons of people don't have work here. So that's something that people are concerned about. Nicaraguans sometimes will feel that way. Just like in the U.S., we're scared of the immigrants taking all our jobs and yada, yada, yada. There's similar fears in other countries. But the most likely problem you're going to have with your visa here in Nicaragua is when the customs agent sees that you are literally border hopping. So like it is day 90, you went to Costa Rica for 1 day and came back the same day, and you did that over and over again, you might have some problems. Or if they think that your work is gray or questionable. Like in my case, it's super easy to explain because I can literally just be like, "Yo soy un YouTuber," and then I show them my YouTube thing, and then they believe me because they see my face and they see a subscriber number. It like makes sense that I'm working on that when I'm there because I make videos about Nicaragua. It's provable, right? They can just instantly look at this on their phones. And there's situations where that's come up, and as soon as they see I'm a YouTuber, they're like, oh, whatever. Like, the tension kind of drops. They understand I'm a tourist. I'm, like, doing that. Whereas, say that you don't have a situation that's easy to explain, then they may be worried that you're working, especially if you have a history of being here for a year or two. How are you earning money? How are you doing that? Right? You're gonna have to be able to answer these questions. The reality is most people want more foreigners to be here because foreigners bring in money. So even if you are coming in over and over and over again, when you do find a problematic, like maybe if you get turned around at the border, you can probably just try again the next day and talk to a different person and get in most situations. So I used to stress a lot more about my visa, but I don't worry about it anymore. Let's see. Okay, so oh, that
So
was
real quick,
B. Oh. Go on.
do people drive around a lot, or is it more like a walking bike culture?
Well, it depends where you are. Like if you are in Managua, like in general, most of the vehicles on the road are taxis. Cars are
Mhm.
usually not affordable by people unless they have like a pretty good financial situation, like they're upper middle class or something. Um, that being said, like people do have cars here, but it is also easier to get by without a car. Like I have absolutely no interest in owning a car living in the city. No interest at all. Mostly because
Okay.
as a foreigner, if you're in a car, it really increases the chances that you're gonna have to bribe somebody at some point. Just because like police will pull you over and they'll be like, "Hey, I'm gonna take your license because you were speeding. Yeah, you were speeding. So if you don't want me to take your license and you don't want to come back here in 2 weeks to get it, maybe you could give me some money. Like that kind of situation happens, um,
Man.
particularly with foreigners driving vehicles. That's really where it's most common. Um, so if you just don't drive vehicles, then you just never have to deal with that. And it's so easy to find taxis. Like you can literally just basically teleport. Like I used to be nervous about that, but now in the daytime, I'll go anywhere in a taxi, and it costs between 40 and like 100 cords. Like to go to the opposite end of the city, it costs 100 cords, right? That's $3. Literally three
Okay.
dollars.
Okay.
It's super super cheap. The cost of using taxis here is almost the same as the cost of gas because gas is as expensive as it is in the United States. So you save a little bit of money by having your own vehicle, but it's not that much more compared to taxis. Like I'm perfectly happy to just take a taxi every single day. You do have to be a bit careful, like if it's nighttime. You want to make sure you're with somebody because some taxi drivers are thieves. That's a thing, especially females have to be careful. You don't want to travel alone. But in general, like
Wow.
I've always had really good experiences, and most of my Spanish speaking practice has been with taxi drivers. Like just because they ask similar questions, I can predict it. I know the vibe, and that is how I like got more of my Spanish speaking experience. If that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. So do you kind of like check out the taxi drivers to see if they're look
Yeah,
little
it's all about
prestigious
how they're
looking?
driving and the way that they solicit the money from you. If they're forceful, if they ask for an abnormally large amount, you can tell by their tone. Also, like you can judge their driving as they're driving to get you. Like if they cut off traffic or if they do something that's aggressive or if they're in a rush, you can literally just be like, nope, buy second taxi immediately. Like there's been
Okay.
scenarios where I'm trying to hail one taxi and three stop, and it's literally like a bidding war. Like you can always find taxis. It's really really easy. Unless it's super late at
uh,
night and you're in like a discreet place, then you have to like go to a main street to find a taxi. But in general, it's really simple. Um, Okay, so Ty says, have you thought about having subsets of videos for your channel? For example, like Jane Doe does crafts and does tutorials and would do a segment on your channel once a week, John Doe, etc. And did you do all of your own video editing? I would love to do a channel, but no time to edit them usefully. So, yeah, I've been trying to change things with my YouTube channel. Like, I went through a phase where I stopped making as much content, but then I became sad. And like, so now I'm just back to just like making content when I feel like it. I'm trying to make more Nicaragua videos. Because really, YouTube just makes me happy. I'm not trying to grow my YouTube channel to be some big thing. I just like making videos. It's fun. There's a lot of things I do that get in the way of my YouTube channel's growth. Like not making dropshipping content, for example. I could just keep making dropshipping content and I would have like a 40, 50,000 subscriber channel by now. But I don't want to. So, yeah. I don't really do any video editing. Like, I do very little video editing. I recently did a video where I did do editing, but that's not normal at all. So you don't necessarily have to do editing for your videos. Personally, I just make videos and then upload them. Sometimes I'll edit them, but you don't have to worry about it a whole lot. Because you're right, editing videos is incredibly time consuming. Like, you might spend 10 minutes recording footage and then 2 hours editing the video. And that's one of the reasons I try and stay away from it unless I'm really interested or I'm really trying to make a specific product. But at the same time, that's also something that holds my YouTube channel back. And that's something that you guys should understand, is that, like, you don't want to be in the vlog style where you're just creating videos every day. That's really not good for your metrics. It is better to create a video that solves a specific problem and doesn't take forever to do it. The ideal video length is between like 10 and 14 minutes. There's two metrics that are really important. There's percentage of video viewed and average view duration. And on YouTube, if you have a 6-minute average view duration, you are doing awesome, doing really good, and YouTube is going to recommend your video to a lot of other people. One thing that's also important to understand about YouTube growth is that I had a misconception about YouTube. I used to think that a lot of YouTube views came from people searching for keywords on YouTube. But the reality is that actually represents like 10 or 20% of all views. Almost the vast majority of views on YouTube come from recommended videos. Because essentially what happens is, yeah, people start the process by searching in the key bar, but that only gets them the first video. After that, typically, they are going to watch suggested videos. So they may watch like between 3 and 10 videos in their session. All except the first one are going to be based on recommended videos and browsing ability, not on searching for a specific keyword. So you really need YouTube to favor your video to be recommending it. That's how you get like viral nature. That's how videos grow to reach tens of thousands of views, is through YouTube seeing that on average people watch this video for more than average. So that means that we should recommend it to people who we think it's relevant to. And you need to activate that to really get good growth on YouTube. And a lot of my videos don't activate that because I just talk about stuff for like 20, 30 minutes and it's experimental and it's fun for me and like interesting for people who are listening. But it means that the average view duration isn't super, super long because people lose interest. It's not solving a specific problem. If you want to make a YouTube channel that grows, you should make between 10 and 15-minute videos that you publish between 2 and 3 times a week that solve specific problems. That is like the recipe that you have to follow if you want to have a YouTube channel that is growing. You can have like predictable upload times, but that stuff isn't as important. What's most important is that you have a specific problem you're solving. Your video length is between 10 and like 12, 15 minutes. Because you want a 6-minute average view duration. If you can get a 6-minute average view duration, that video is being recommended to other people. Whereas if you have like a 2-minute average view duration, it's not. And historically, like back when my YouTube channel was growing a lot more, when I was creating lots of dropshipping videos, my average view duration across my entire channel was like 6 or 7 minutes, which is really, really good. Whereas now, my average view duration is like 3 minutes, which is less than the average because my videos are underperforming because I'm not making like predictable, reliable content about dropshipping anymore, right? So just food for thought for everybody interested in YouTube. I want to move on so we can get... There's actually a lot of comments today. Holy crap. Okay.
Got that good info.
Yeah, right? You have any questions, Bray? I want to try and keep people involved instead of me just ranting. It's been like 50 minutes, so I lost track of time.
No, you're good. You're good. I noticed from one of my biggest YouTube video, I actually get a lot of views from Google search. So people searching on Google and they'll actually come up to my video. So that's where most of my views are coming from.
That's cool. I guess that makes sense because you do stock stuff, so people will search on Google for how to do that, and then what is your biggest video?
And
Do
and
you want
uh
to talk about that?
and cannabis content. That's where most of my views come from.
I would love to make cannabis content, but it's illegal here.
Oh,
I guess I could
see, you
claim
gotta
I'm in
go.
California or something, but
No, you better go to legal state and mingle with people who are doing stuff and
yeah.
make some good creations.
So Mike said, "Why don't you dropship or FBA to increase your income?" Um, okay, this is something I talk about so much, like why I'm not dropshipping anymore. Basically, I have a really lucky situation. I'm in a position where the entirety of every day gets to be spent doing whatever I want. And my goal is to fill every day with actions that bring me fulfillment. If something does not fulfill me, if I do not feel like I am improving myself, improving another person, or improving the world somehow, I'm not going to do it. I don't feel that way with dropshipping. I understand that I could make a lot of money doing it, but ultimately I left the employed world so that I could do things that I enjoy. I don't enjoy dropshipping. Why should I spend my time doing something I don't enjoy to earn money? That is literally why I left the working life, or the employed life, so that I could do this. And I do consulting with people who do FBA. So I work with people who do dropshipping, but I don't do any of the trench stuff anymore. I help make decisions, and then other people do that work. So I'm still learning about it, and I'm still interested in it because I enjoy that. I enjoy consulting with other people. But I don't want to spend my time doing something that's unstable. I want to build things that 5-10 years from now could still be earning money. Dropshipping is not one of those things. Amazon FBA also isn't really one of those things. It's so incredibly affected by competition. You have to put so much work and effort into creating a successful team of individuals that maintains your store, does product research, because ultimately, every time you have a product that you found that you're selling, that product is accessible to everybody else in the world. You will find competition, and eventually someone else will have more sales of your item because there's going to be hundreds more competition, right? I'm much more interested in situations that have a really high barrier to entry so that there isn't as much competition. That is a recurring theme about anything that I'm putting my time into now, is how do I identify scenarios that I can work in where I have almost no competition or barely any competition. Those are the kind of industries I want to be in. And that's one of the reasons that I'm working on the Spanish content website. It's much more interesting to me teaching Spanish speakers how to earn money online and how to create US businesses. That's a legitimate thing that really helps people, because there's tons of people in Latin America, millions and millions of people who want better lives, and they need more money, and they think that they have to move to the United States to do that, but they don't. And my role is to show them that. That is way more fulfilling than dropshipping. Way more fulfilling. Even here, if I can't teach someone about dropshipping because I know exactly what's going to happen. One, they're probably not going to take it seriously. Probably not going to earn much money. And if they do, they're going to get too cocky because they're going to be earning $1,000 a month, and they're going to think that it's going to be like that forever. And then ultimately, it's not, because they're an international drop shipping in the US marketplace, and at some point they get banned and they have to go through that whole emotion of earning all that money, thinking you've changed your life, and then boom, it's gone. Like, I can't honestly teach people about drop shipping without also talking about that reality. And that's one of the reasons I'm not interested in it, because it isn't a stable way to teach people to earn money online. It is something that you can teach them so that they can use as a stepping stone, but they have to be aware of that, you know? And I think that it's much better to teach people how to do things that are relevant to what they're actually interested in. If they're interested in e-commerce and interested in dropshipping, like seriously, then yeah, it's something they can pursue. But it's nowhere near as stable as like them creating content on a YouTube channel in the long run, or them creating their own website, or them acting as a consultant and helping other people. Like, there's so many other things that people can do to earn money that are much, much more stable than dropshipping. Dropshipping is inherently quite unstable. You need to know a lot to make it stable, and it's really tricky. So that's one of the main reasons that I don't feel good about teaching people how to dropship. I don't, like, my heart isn't in that, but my heart is in doing other things, like teaching people how to make YouTube channels, teaching people how to do consulting, teaching people how to advertise stuff. All of that is way more interesting to me because it's much more relevant to people in the long run. I don't want to just be teaching flash in the pan, get rich stuff. It's boring. It's not interesting at all. Okay, sorry, done ranting. Okay.
Nah, that's good, man. That's good. Stay true to, hey, stay true to your heart. Here you go.
And I guess that there is another point, is that I do kind of feel like I made so much dropshipping content in the past that if you're trying to learn about it, there's a lot of videos that already exist online. I mean, one of the reasons that I used to feel quite... One of the reasons that I used to feel much more interested in dropshipping content is because it was really hard to find the information. Like, not many people were talking about it, and they were charging a lot of money. So I got a thrill out of that because I knew that I was changing something by providing information for free. Me and Mark kind of set a standard for being a YouTubing dropshipper. That was like a thing. Back then, there weren't very many people doing that at all. Whereas now, it's like tons of people doing it. We kind of set a trend in that way. And I knew that I was a part of that. And I liked being a part of that trend. Where I was like creating a trend of expressing information for free that people typically charge a lot of money for. Like, there are people like who were already dropshipping that hated what I was doing because I was giving away information that they were charging a lot of money, and they knew that that meant they were going to start losing like clients and customers. And like, that made it more fulfilling for me because I knew that I was playing a role. Whereas over the years, the scene has changed, and now there is tons of information about dropshipping. It's easy to find on YouTube. You can find everything you need to get into dropshipping. Me making dropshipping content doesn't change that at all because it already all exists and it's out there. I don't feel unique in that way anymore. And so that's another reason that it just doesn't feel, I don't feel it in my heart, you know? So that's a main reason that I've drifted away. But I need to stop talking about dropshipping. I don't want to, because the thing is that there are people who really would benefit from dropshipping, and I don't want to alienate you because, like, in my life, dropshipping changed my life. I don't do it anymore, but it enabled me to have the life that I have now. It enabled me to get into that, and then I did other things to maintain it. So don't think that dropshipping is always bad. It's just not a realistic option for a lot of people, is the thing. So Workcourse says, any chance you could make a day in the lifestyle video of where you live? I'd love to see that. Yeah, sure, actually, that would be awesome. Let me write that down. So, what do you have in mind exactly? Like, I can run by this real quick. 1 second. workhorse, what do you have in mind with that? Like, okay, I wake up, this is what I do, this is my routine. Okay, this is me going outside to go to the skate park. Like, you literally just snippets of like an entire day, showing what the scenery looks like, showing the people I'm around. That's what I'm getting. Is that what you're talking about? Is there any specific information? Because I'll literally just make a video about exactly what you tell me. So, more information's always good. Day in the life. This is how I write notes. Whatever's lying around. Okay. Alright, I think we can now move on. So, did you do your 5 min lines?
I did.
Hey! Nice!
It's working out. Getting there, man. I'm getting there.
That's awesome. I will say that I did not do very good with mine. I had 2 things to do. I changed one of them because I was supposed to work on the Spanish content website, but I ended up working on this YouTube video about how to like change yourself as a person instead. I put a lot of freaking work into that video. And at the time I knew it was just because I was enjoying it and it wasn't something that would like get big or earn me any money. So was it a priority? Like financially, no, absolutely not. But it was really cool to I put like 10 hours into making one video, and that doesn't happen normally, right? And essentially it took so long because I was drawing out these slides by hand and like working on them over and over and over again. And so making all of those slides, that is the time-consuming part. Because basically it was a video where I'm narrating, talking, but my face isn't shown and you just see little pieces of paper. And I've never done that kind of video before. So I ended up doing that instead of working on the Spanish content website. But I should work on the Spanish content website now. And the other thing to do, which I could actually use some feedback about, I would love to be helped with this problem. The other thing I was supposed to do was get my VA to be posting links to my retirement in Nicaragua course. And the way I was going to do this was by having a Google Alert set up. And the way Google Alerts works is you set up a keyword, and then Google sends you emails every time a news article shows up with that keyword, every time a blog post shows up, whatever. And so it's a way for you to kind of get a feed of places on the internet that are related to a specific keyword, right? And so I was under the impression that I could set that up for retirement in Latin America, do that, and then have my VA go through and share links in those places on the internet, right? But then when I actually looked at the Google Alert, almost none of the links are commentable. So there's no way to do that. So I have to figure out like how do I connect with people who are interested in retirement in Latin America and get them to know my course exists. Because I don't actually have to convince them to retire in Nicaragua. I just have to tap into their interests and their fears of retiring in the US. Because basically, like right now is the first of a series of years where there's going to be loads of people retiring, like 4 million people retiring every year for the next like 5 or 6 years, right? So I have to figure out how to tap into those people, because when I originally made the course, I was thinking people like me to use the course. But the reality is very few people my age are ever going to move to Latin America from America. That's just not realistic. I did that, but that's because I was raised as a foreigner, and there's a very unique set of circumstances that led me to be in a position where I moved to Latin America. And for some reason in my head, I thought that I could market it to people like me, but that's an incredibly tiny market with very few people. The reality is all the people who I talk to who are actually seriously interested in moving to Latin America are people who are trying to retire but don't have enough money to retire in the States. That is the demographic I need to be marketing to. So I have to figure out how can I use a virtual assistant to spread links of my course to retirees. That's what I need help with. I'm not sure how to go about that. The things that come to mind are forums. I'm sure there are forums about retirement, but I'm also obviously like, how do I talk to retirees when I'm like, I'm 26, you know? So they're obviously going to be like, why the fuck should I listen to this 26-year-old? What does he know about retirement? But the reality is, I did retire here. Like, I left my life, came to Latin America, and I work an hour or two a day. That's retired, right? I mean, basically. So, I don't know. I know that there's some way to figure it out. I'm just not sure how. Do you have any thoughts, Bray? Or any of you in the audience? How do you think I can market towards retirees and make these connections?
For one thing, run ads in Florida.
In Florida, I guess that makes sense, yeah.
That's where all the retirees are at, you know. And New York, you know, that's where we get most of our, you know, new Floridians from. New York and New Jersey, I think it was.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm in Google Trends, and I'm searching for retirement, and I want to see which states have the highest interest. I don't know if this is super accurate though. Let's see. What do you think? What's a keyword that I can use that would realistically? Because basically, when you look at Google Trends, you can search for a keyword, and then you can see the states where that keyword is being searched for most. So if I search for retirement in Google Trends, the top states are DC, Alaska, Wyoming, Virginia, Maryland, Nebraska, New York, Hawaii, New Hampshire, North Carolina. Like, Florida is like, where is Florida? Florida's number 49, which doesn't make sense at all because a ton of people retire in Florida, which makes me think that this is not an accurate metric. But what metric could I use? Like, what term do you think people who actually retire in are like? Did you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, what are retirement people searching for?
Exactly.
Yeah. How to live in retirement. My stepdad's actually about to retire in 18 months. So I'm asking him what he's searching for.
So if I search for retirement options, it becomes way more specific because like half the states don't even have people searching for that. But New York, okay, New York is up there in retirement options, in retirement and retire. Maybe I just need to search for as many key terms as possible. What is?
There you go.
Oh, there's a topic called lifestyle options retirement. I guess that's a business because supposedly only Illinois is interested in that. What else? What else?
Where to
Go on.
Where to move for retirement? Cheapest places to live for retirement.
Cheapest retirements.
Best places to live in retirement in the U.S.
Well, so if you search for cheapest retirement in Google Trends, supposedly the only place where people are actually searching for that is California, which makes sense.
There we go. Dang, that makes sense.
Hey, Jack.
Hey, Rita, what's up?
Hi. I was wondering about the early retirement community because there's a lot of people that want to retire early, but they can't afford to.
Okay.
And they can be very young. A lot of very young people are interested in early retirement. So I think that you might be hitting the sweet spot, you know, people that want to retire, but they're young, so they're not going to look down on you for being young.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
you are kind of semi-retired, I would say. So that might be an option.
Yeah, it seems like they don't know how to search for stuff. They say out there that they want to be their own boss and want to retire early, but they don't know how to put in the work.
Interesting. So one thing that's been showing up over and over and over again is DC. Like every time, if I search for early retirement or retire or like all of these search terms, DC is one of the top ones. Also, Virginia is a recurring one as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, DC is very expensive to live in, and the suburbs around DC are extremely expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
So a lot of people can't afford to retire there.
So let's see. What happens if I go to Google and I search, where do all the retirees live? Choosing the best place. Here are the countries with the most retirees. These hotspots. Well, it makes sense weather-wise. You don't have... There aren't too many options, really, in the U.S. where there's, like, almost no winter. Because that's kind of like the ideal for retirement, right? Not having a winter.
Yeah.
Because, it's hard on... Winter's hard on the body.
Florida's the closest it gets. All the snowbirds like, oh, this is nothing. While we got our jackets on and then complaining how cold it is.
Jeez, there's a ton of people, U.S. citizens, retired in Japan? What?
Wow.
It literally goes Canada, Japan, Mexico. Why is Japan there? That's so cool. Does Japan have some kind of law for U.S. retirees? That's pretty far away.
Yeah.
And they don't speak English.
16-hour flight, I think.
Huh. That's interesting. Well.
Gotta do some research.
Yeah. Essentially, I need to research more before I can figure out. Oh, somebody said U.S. Census data. Oh, Phil Yabai is in Tokyo? That's freaking cool. And Ty says Japan is mostly for the culture change and it's a big Marine Corps population. That makes sense. My mother lived in Okinawa because her father was in the military. Oh wait, so there's a... I still can't believe that Japan is the number 2 place that expats are retired in. That's crazy. Oh, thank you, Workhorse. You just paid for lunch. Haha. Yeah, so Phil says, believe it or not, the cost of living can be much cheaper in Japan. And that's actually something that I've heard. So if you're going to the touristy places, it's kind of expensive. But if you go to the more, like, rural places that tourists don't go to, it's supposedly actually, like, comparable to Nicaragua. But Phil says he's originally from Los Angeles. Yeah, wow. Los Angeles is so expensive. Holy crap.
Whoosh! God damn.
I imagine the perception that Japan is safer probably plays into some of this.
Yeah, it's one of the safer places in the world.
Yeah. And so when you get older, you're more concerned about safety probably than when you're younger.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the Japanese passport is the best passport in the world. Just fun fact. Because all the governments in most of the countries are so confident the Japanese citizens aren't going to overstay their visas. That's like what determines how many. So the way passports work is the best passport gets you visa-free access to the most countries. So the difference between visa-free access and visa required is that visa-free access literally means you arrive, you get a stamp, you can be in the country for 30 to 90 days. It's super simple. You don't need to do any paperwork. Maybe you pay a fee, like a $5 or $10 fee, but that's it. Whereas visa required means that you have to consult with an embassy before you travel. And it's not a huge deal to get a visa. It's not very hard, especially a tourist visa. But you do have to do some level of steps. So the best passports are the ones that governments are very confident the citizens aren't going to overstay. So that's why like places like the United States are way up there, because like most people aren't worried about US citizens overstaying the visa in their country, right?
Yeah.
Like I did that in Nicaragua, but that's super unusual. Like normally you wouldn't have a US citizen overstaying in a, third world country. Like that isn't really common at all. So that's one of the reasons Japan is up there as well. Yeah, so Phil says his apartment costs $700 and groceries around $300. So his cost of living for a month is around $1,100. That's pretty good. It's definitely cheaper than the U.S. More expensive than Nicaragua. Like here, living in Managua, I live in the capital. I pay $150 of rent, and I get like a whole house basically. Technically, I'm only paying for one room, but I have access to like the roof. I like can put things anywhere. I'm really close to all of the people I live with. And then utilities on top of that is like $100. Hey, what's up, Shakar? How you doing? I cannot hear you.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Oh, I can hear you a tiny bit.
You gotta speak closer to the mic. No.
Yeah, we can hear your volume like little, like I can hear that you are saying something, but I have absolutely no idea. Like I don't even hear a single word.
Yeah.
You can type the question too. Zoom has a chat. Maybe he'll rejoin.
There we go. Try it again.
Ty asks if we grow anything on the roof. No, we don't actually have any plants on the roof. The roof right now is like empty, and that's something we talk about a lot, is making it look like really pretty and stuff. We just haven't gotten around to doing it yet, but it's awesome. The roof is like literally the size of the entire house. So you can have, we have like parties sometimes, and everyone's on the roof, and like I can just be sleeping in my room like calm, because everyone's up there. So like it's kind of loud, but not as loud as if it was inside. It's really cool. It's like completely possible to just completely forget that there's like 15 people upstairs.
Make sure you show that in your day of life video.
Yeah. Well, that's not pretty. We don't really have too many parties. The most recent one was for the birthday of one of the people who live here. But yeah, I do need to. So back when I was first in Nicaragua, I did a lot of videos about like the people I was with. And after I came back, like that part of me just wasn't excited about making videos really. Because it's weird making videos with people, because I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable, but at the same time, in order to get them to a point where they're comfortable being on video, I have to make them feel uncomfortable 5 or 6 times so they get used to being on video. So it's a really bad reason to not make video. I really should just make more videos about the people I live with and that kind of thing. Especially one of them's very, like, isn't like that at all. She's really good on video and loves it, and, like, I just need to work with her more. I just haven't. No good reason. So Sam says, sorry, it seems like his audio is not working. It's all good, man. I'm assuming you're still listening. So if you have any questions or comments, just ask. You can ask in the chat. I'm just looking at something real quick.
Man, no beat today.
I talked to him earlier, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's not here right now because he's taking his son to a Super Smash Bros. Tournament, which I think is a better thing to do than join this call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Here we go.
I really admire him, man. He's a good dad. He cares a lot about his kids, and he's trying to just like, that's like his big
Expose them
motivation.
to everything. Yeah,
Yeah, he's trying to
yeah,
expose him to as much as possible, and also like get a better life for him so he can be better to his kids and that kind of thing. Super interesting.
yeah, yeah. That's the same path I'm on right there.
So, Bray, what's going on over the next week? What do you want to work on?
So I can make it like a monetary goal.
Okay.
So I want to have a daily goal of making 100 a day in the stock market. So I want to make that at least 4 times this week.
Make $100?
Yeah.
Damn, that's $100 a day is a lot of money.
Yeah,
That's a lot of
pretty
money.
tough. It's pretty tough.
But is that something that you feel like you can achieve over the next week, or?
Yeah,
Jeez,
it's
I
very
should be
doable.
trading stock. What am I doing?
Yeah, you should, man. You're in the best position right now, man. It probably opens at a really good time over there. I don't know the time delay.
It's only like right now. It's 11:20 in the morning.
11:20. So it open at 8 o'clock,
8 in the morning.
8:30. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't realize
Not
you can
bad.
make that kind of money with it. That's like here. Let's see, because 100 a day, even if you half that, say it's $50 a day, right?
Yeah.
That's how much a month? One, three. So it's 1,500 if it's $50 a day, right?
Yep.
It's pretty good. Here at least, that's enough. That's more than enough to. That's triple what you need if
Or
you're
like
earning
$1,000 a
$50
month.
a day.
$50 a day, 5 days a week.
Oh, 5 days a week. Yeah, not every single day.
Yeah, stock market.
So
Yeah. So that's 1,000 a month.
that's good. Maybe what we'll do. Maybe we can do some content. We can make some videos where like you're teaching me how to do something, and then I can post them on the channel, and we can see what comes from that.
Okay. Okay.
Because that'd be
Good.
cool. At this point, like one of the reasons I'm doing these groups is or doing this call is to see who like joins regularly, and you've joined regularly enough that you have like, because a lot of people will join just like once or twice, but they're really unable to do something like every week consistently over a long period of time, and that's kind of indicative of successful people. It's not so much about like you being great or like knowing everything or being really talented. It's
Yeah,
literally
got
just
that
showing up on a
discipline.
regular basis.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't do that. So that's a good sign. It indicates that like I would want to work on something with you. And ideally, like I have little projects that I'm working on with all the people who are in this group. That's like one of the reasons I want to do it.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I guess what I gotta figure out what I can do over the next week that I probably won't do otherwise. That I think it's probably more relevant to research more about marketing the retirement course. Because I need to do a lot more work about that versus the Spanish content website. Like, because I've made a retirement course. It doesn't look like a retirement course because when I made it, it was just like how to move in Nicaragua. But it is a retirement course. I just need to change the wording a little bit because it has all the information necessary for retirement. It's all about cost of living and that kind of thing, right? So I just kind of got to do some tweaks there. But I also need to do more research and figure out how can I use a virtual assistant to be regularly advertising my course in a way that's free. Because I know how to use like YouTube ads and that kind of thing and target retirees, and I'm going to do that. But that's a separate part of it. Like basically I need to be talking about my course, I need to have YouTube ads, and I need to have a virtual assistant posting things in like forums or something. I got to figure out how to do that part.
Some organic content. I don't know.
But I need to be more confident because these aren't specific enough. So that makes it quite vague, easy to pass a week by without doing. So
How about using Instagram with hashtags, targeting those keywords, and then having a link in the post to go to your website?
How many retirees use Instagram though? Is that a?
It's getting pretty popular.
I feel like it is, but is it
Facebook is more popular, I think, with the
with
older crowd.
retirees?
Great idea. It's a great
Yeah.
idea. And there are a lot of the Facebook profile is automatically or almost automatically given an Instagram
Yeah.
account. So there might be more older people on than there used to be just because of that alone.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's a great idea. Facebook would be good too.
so I will make my task specifically to determine what my VA will be doing. I need to do research to determine that. And that's my thing. That's what I'm going to do. So I got to do research about all the retirement communities, yada yada, and understand that better, do more Google Trends research, do more research about forums, and then come up with something that my VA can do. And then next week I'll actually do that training and set it up. But my goal specifically is to do research to determine how my VA can help me with this, connecting the course to people who are interested in it. Because I need to do marketing. Right now, like, it's a good course, it's created, it exists. But nobody knows it exists except people who listen to me on YouTube. Nobody's actually bought the course. People have signed up and taken for it, which was kind of cool. Because I had a video that was like 30 minutes, and at the 20-minute point, I like accidentally showed a free coupon to the course that could be used 10 times. And I was like, nobody's going to use that. And then within 2 days, all of them got used. And I was like, oh.
Dang.
I guess people actually do watch the 20th minute in a video sometimes. So what about you, Rita?
Can you excuse me? Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you well right now. Quite clear.
I know. Sometimes they're better than others. So I was thinking about, Jack, your last video where you talked about self-resentment.
Yeah, the card video.
I felt like you made it just for me, but I know you didn't. But it felt like, it just was so spot on for me. And so I've decided to just take a more relaxed approach to eBay because I'm pretty tired from my business, my dog care business right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm heading into a very busy season, so I've just decided to give myself a little break because there's only so many hours in a day, and
Yeah.
it doesn't mean I'm stopping. I'm still kind of doing and thinking about system stuff, but, and I'll tell you more about that in a second, but yeah, I'm just trying to give myself a little bit of a break mentally from, just beating myself up about what I'm not doing.
Yeah, you mentioned that, how on days where you have a lot of dog walking, you feel like ashamed or you feel negative emotion because you know that you're not going to be able to get to your eBay work. But that's sad because that's like on days that you have a lot of work that earns you money, you feel sad that you're not going to be able to do something that earns you money. Yeah, so I understand that, gotta work with that.
So one of the actions is when I'm getting a lot of work, I need to be putting aside that money so that perhaps I can buy a bulk, some kind of bulk stuff to list, or, some kind of arbitrage, or, you know what I mean? So I have some cash. Yeah, something like this. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, something that won't be as listing heavy. I can make one great listing, hopefully, and then go from there. And so I think it'd be good to have that cash set aside, because sometimes the extra cash just goes into the black hole. It doesn't, I'm not always utilizing it the way I should.
What we spend is proportional to what we earn.
Generally, if you're not thinking about it, for sure. And so that's one of my priorities, is just basically an envelope. I get a lot of cash from my job and my business, and just an envelope that says replenishables on the front of it, and just start tucking away that extra 20 or that extra 100 or whatever. And I think that'll make me feel good to know that's there, that's building. I'm stacking as I say, stacking cash. I love that term. I don't know why. It feels really good to stack cash. And the other thing, I'm going to do something for my health. I'm going to save drinking of alcohol for the weekends. because I was, I've been kind of drinking during the week, and I don't really feel good when I do that, and it's kind of a waste of time. I could be doing other things that are like
Yeah.
more self care. I
And
could just
you
be doing other
mentioned
things.
that's because your roommates drink, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not blaming them. It's
I mean,
just,
it is a factor. It's a convenience thing, you know. It's definitely like if I'm around people who never drink, it's really easy to not drink. But if I'm around people who have a beer like every couple of hours, it's significantly harder to not drink, you know.
yeah, you want to socialize and be cool or whatever. I don't know.
And that
Because
that
it's
to a
fun.
point that's
Because it's
healthy,
fun.
you know, and that's what makes it so tricky. It's like you got to
Yeah,
balance it.
I just think it needs to be kept in its place, and that's why, weekends is probably better for that, and then yeah, it just keeps it in its place. And that's about it on that. And so the third thing is I'm going to train a friend of mine to do the part of eBay listing I don't like, or another part. I'm using Suzanne Awell's listing service, her virtual assistant service for the listing part, the actual, listing. But
Yeah.
I get bogged down. I don't mind taking photos, and I don't mind filling out my spreadsheet with, what the item is, etc., keeping track. But where I get bogged down, actually, it sounds dumb, but whatever. I get bogged down getting the editing and then getting them into the proper folders. She requires you to have a folder for each item, and then there's a big folder where all the little folders are inside of, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
One big folder and then subfolders, and each item has to have its own folder. And for some reason, I get really bogged down, probably because I'm just working with these little chunks of time, and I don't know, I end up with all these loose ends, and then I get kind of overwhelmed and I just don't do anything. So I'm thinking if I can just get the spreadsheet filled out, take the photos, send them to her, and she can basically handle the rest. I'm gonna pay her $1 for each one. Oh, I might get dogs barking in a second.
It's all good.
But anyway, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you.
Okay. So what is the thing specific that you want to work on that we'll ask about next week?
Am I not drinking alcohol during the week?
Okay.
Can I say more than one?
If you want to, yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind it's better to have one small thing that you do follow through with than multiple things, because again, if you say something and then you don't end up following through, you're not going to feel good about yourself. So sometimes it is better to just have one that's simple that you know you're going to do, because then you can build momentum.
Yeah, that's a good idea, right? That's how you don't have all that self-resentment.
Yeah. Usually, there's a phrase in Spanish, paso y paso. I mean, step by step. If you try and, do everything at once, then nothing ends up changing. Whereas if you just change one thing a week, it's realistic, it's easier.
Well, yeah, Chris Lynn talked about that on Daily Refinement, how when he's working on his health, his business suffers a little, and vice versa.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep all the balls in the air. So it's best to just, like you said, just one step at a time.
Okay, so 1 second. I need to make sure I have all the things. I've been getting better at remembering everybody's without having to write it down. Or without having to look
Yeah,
at
see that.
what's being
That's
written
awesome.
down. But,
Good for you.
okay. Okay. So, Bray, yours was to earn $100 a day 4 times? 4
4
times,
days,
okay.
yep.
And Jack will do retirement research for VA process. Awesome. Okay. And I actually talked so B's thing was to make that video with me, and I completely forgot to reach out to him, and he didn't reach out to me. So like 45 minutes before this call started, I was like, hey, let's make that video, let's do it. And he did it. So that's how I knew that he wasn't going to be here and that he was going. I actually published that already. Let's see if it,
Yeah, it's up. I saw it.
does it have any comments?
I didn't see that part. I saw it a little while ago
Oh,
before
it's
your
got
show.
7 comments. Wow. Let's see. Comments. Here we go. Oh, some people had a little bit of a fight, but that's okay. Okay, cool. Awesome. It's always nice when the people respond quickly. It is, I gotta say, one of the best parts about having a YouTube channel is that you can just, like, there's so many situations in my life where I don't have to do things the hard way because I have a YouTube channel. Like finding a virtual assistant, for example. Can literally just make a video, be like, hey, any of you want to work? And then that has enabled me to get a direct relationship with VAs every single time I've needed one. I've never had to go to a hiring website and paid like the website to do that because of YouTube. And it's not even like that big, you know, these videos may get like 100 views. And then, but that's enough because one of those views is somebody who actually wants to do some work, right? So it's really interesting how that's like a recurring theme with YouTube is that there's so many ways to use it indirectly to accomplish things in your life. Also with like what it does to your personal development, to be able to become comfortable on video, that guarantees you become confident. And that exact skill translates into all of your human interactions. Like I can speak in front of groups of hundreds of people because I make videos on YouTube. Whereas if I didn't make those YouTube videos, I wouldn't be able to do that with confidence. And there's all of these like skills and talents that creating YouTube videos regularly gives you. Even if you're not making it big on YouTube, you're not gaining a huge audience, it gets you used to putting yourself out there. And that inevitably means that at some point, you're going to get a connection with somebody who's going to do something that's going to bring you what you want.
Yes, sir. I like that. Yep.
All right, guys. Anything you guys want to go over? Anybody got any other questions before we head out?
I'm good. Nope. I just thank you for doing these. These are great. You learn a lot every time you come on here.
I have something, Jack.
Okay.
Getting back to the early retirement, there's something called lean fire, which is lean. You know what that means? Financial independence, retire early. So that's young people who want to retire early, and they're willing to go pretty extreme on their frugality to retire. And so I think that those are people that
another demographic. And so wait.
Yeah.
This is how did you say it again?
Lean fire, LEAN fire, and fire is financial independence, retire early.
Okay.
And so these are young people. They could be in their 30s or probably even younger. I think most of them probably are in their 30s. So some people, they can retire early because they have $100,000 a year jobs and they live frugally for 5 or 10 years.
5 years, yeah.
Or whatever it is. And then but not everybody has $100,000 a year job. So those are the kind of people that might do a lean fire, where they just, they may make a location change, like what you've done.
Yeah, and if I look at lean fire on Google Trends, again, Virginia is one of the top. So the top results for that by sub-region are Virginia, California, Massachusetts, Washington.
You're saying that that's where the most interest comes from, or that's where people want to retire to?
No, that's where people are searching for the phrase lean fire more.
Okay, so that's the interest. So places that are very expensive.
Yeah.
People are going, oh, I'm never going to be able to retire here. So where else can I go?
And it's interesting how often Virginia shows up in these.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize it's very expensive, especially right around the DC area. It's extremely expensive.
Yeah, that's where I lived, in Nova. It was crazy going from Nova to Nicaragua. It was like, it's kind of like California to Nicaragua. Very different.
But yeah,
wow.
What is it? What county? Fairfax County, Virginia is like some parts of Virginia are more rural and they're probably pretty cheap, but
Fairfax
Fairfax
used to be the
County.
most expensive county in the States, but now it's like number 4 or something.
Yeah, it's still, yeah, it's pretty expensive.
Huh? Oh, but income-wise, it's number 2, supposedly. I'm looking over the comments real quick. Nice, there were a lot of comments. You guys had like discussions in the comments and stuff today. That's super cool. That's not normal. Let's see. Okay, they're talking about listing stuff on eBay. Phil wants to join next week to talk about trading. Hey, Bray. Maybe we should have a tutoring call. We could set up a call where you help us all set up our accounts for the first time in a live stream.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in that?
That's the perfect time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Let's set it up.
That would be awesome. I'd like that too.
There we go. All right.
Do you guys want to do that? We can commit to that. So next week on this live stream, we set up accounts so that we can do the trading or whatever setup process is necessary.
Okay.
You guys want to do that?
Yep.
Sounds great.
I'll be at my computer.
Okay. So next week, we have a theme next week. I can change the title from the same title this call always is to something specific. That's awesome. Okay, Phil. So next week we will specifically talk about trading. I'm not sure exactly how I'll probably do it so it's this format where you're seeing our faces in the Zoom call, because I won't be able to show my screen the whole time because inevitably making an account I'll have to like share some personal information. But we will be setting accounts up, so we'll figure that out. Andy Cronin says, hello, Jack from the UK. What's up? I thought there was one more question. I think I missed it. Oh, okay. So Martin Hirsch says, is there any specific reason you were in Nicaragua as opposed to some other locale? And honestly, it was just luck of the draw. I participated in an event in Nicaragua 2 years ago for 2 weeks. It was hosted by Mark Augustine, who runs the channel No Bullshit Dropshipping. And he rented a place and invited a whole bunch of people who earn money from a computer to live together for 30 days. So I participated in that for 2 weeks. It was hosted in Nicaragua. That's why I'm in Nicaragua now, is because it just happened to be where this event was. I went to Nicaragua and then I saw how different the cost of living is and how beautiful the country is, and I was like, wow, why am I living in the States? And then I went back, I quit my job, and I moved to Nicaragua for 9 months, got sad, went back to the States, got even sadder, came back to Nicaragua, and now this is where I live. I think that's pretty much everything. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody, for participating. Remember, if you want to join these calls, they are every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can just subscribe and click on the bell. You'll get a notification when the call goes live. Or you can go into the link in the description for the Discord chat. This is how I communicate with everybody. So anytime you want to actually participate in this call, just join the Discord chat and you will get a link to join this Zoom room. And that's how Bray is here and Rita's here and anybody else is welcome to join at any point. Don't worry if I'm talking about something or ranting, just join. I would much rather have multiple people in this room than me just be ranting about something for an hour. It's definitely awesome that people have been joining the call regularly, because then I don't need to worry about keeping myself talking over and over and over again. It's been great. All right, everybody. See you next time.
All right, Jet. Thank you. All right.
Thank you as well. Best of luck, guys. See you next week.